Welcome to the Amazon's podcast. I'm Glenn Young. GPS Photography and Video is the sponsor of the Amazon's podcast, in which I am the owner of both. Why photography and video? Because a photo's worth 1,000 words, video's worth 1,000,000. GPSphotoandvideo.com. And of course, Amazon's Fitness Magazine is a publication of GPS Photography and Video. My guest this evening, she's back on the podcast, IFBB Pro Blanca Rodrigues. So thanks for coming back on. Really appreciate you.
Hi, Glenn. No, thanks for having me back on. It's a pleasure.
So now some of the shows have been released, at least a good template, I think. And the year that was 2024, a great year, especially for women's physique and women's bodybuilding, I believe. What are you looking at? Have you made any thoughts on what you might do in 2025?
I have some ideas. Nothing really set in stone. List just came out not too long ago. I kind of had an idea of what I was wanting to do. The one show I did Texas Pro, and I'm absolutely planning on doing that this upcoming year. I had a fantastic time. I mean, aside from the prize money that was up for grabs for women's physique, thanks to Sarah Rodrigues. I mean, it was just a fantastic experience. Just the competitors that came out to compete for women's physique. I mean, it was an honor to be there and an honor to compete. And it was a fun time. They went above and beyond for production. So if all goes well, I plan on me being there next year.
And as I understand, they're adding women's bodybuilding, which is what I definitely wanted to see. So that's great. And it's right there in August, right after the Tampa Pro. Looking at the schedule. In fact, August is chock full when you kick back from the Atlanta Pro, Chicago, Atlanta, Tampa, and then Texas. That's a full slate in that area going from July to August timeframe.
Yeah, a ton of great shows. It's almost hard to pick, really.
It is, and that's a great problem to have, and that's great because a lot of choice for both women's physique and women's bodybuilding, and that's what you want to see. Go ahead.
No, I was going to agree. I was very happy to hear that they added women's bodybuilding to the Texas Pro because, competing there this past year, like I looked around and was just like, women's bodybuilding deserves to be here as well. So I was glad to see that.
When you look at it now, have you started prep yet? Give me your thoughts, or are you still on the outside planning, or what are you looking to do?
I'm deep in off season right now, and I did get some really good feedback from Tyler Mannion at Tampa Pro. I'm basically trying to work on the areas I need to bring up. So I mean, that's a priority right now. I mean, if my coach and I decide that I'm not ready until I'll be ready to do it. But I feel like, I'll be ready for some shows in the summertime. It sucks because I always have the desire to compete at one of the earlier shows because there are some really good shows like the New York
Triple O Dynasty for one. Yeah,
it's just the timing of everything. And then also the reality of my division, women's physique. I put my body through a lot to get down to that conditioning. I had my best conditioning this past season. Everything was on point. I couldn't have had it any better. Really, I walked away knowing that I had things that I had to bring up, that it wasn't an issue of my, the way I peaked or anything like that, or the prep. I had a fantastic prep. So working with Yassine was amazing. I'm working with him now through the off season. I was actually able to meet him in person when he came to the States for the Olympia. He came early and he spent some time here in Tampa. So we got to work out together and, we got to strategize. And that was really cool to be able to meet him because he's out in Dubai. So everything has been through digital. So that was really neat. And we had a game plan, and I have kind of an idea of some other shows that I'd like to do. But again, it's all a matter of when I'll be ready. And I still have at least a few more months to build.
Yeah. Would you like to do a show in Dubai? I don't know if that was on the slate, but I mean,
I have to the international shows. I don't know if I can do an international show. It's a lot.
Yeah, it is. Especially when you look at the expense, and then of course the travel. Some competitors battle with water retention, some don't. But the biggest thing behind that is getting there early, so you can get that rest and do your best.
Mm-hmm. And then the issues with food as well, because things are a little different outside of the country, all that planning, and then obviously the extra expense on top of that, having to get out there before. So, I mean, never say never, but, it's not like I'm actively looking at doing a show outside of the U.S.
Overall, when you look at women's physique, 2024 was a great year. You could say it was somewhat overshadowed by women's bodybuilding, but the key was not enough shows. Now looking into 2025, there are technically more shows or more appealing shows, quality over quantity for one. And at the same time, I think the women's purses or the money, the winnings are going up, is ticking upward, and there's been a conversation being had about the prize money, and that's great. So when you look at it, what could you see could still improve in 2025 for the women's physique division?
Well, I'll agree. I thought it was a fantastic season for women's physique overall. Even at the Olympia, everybody that qualified that competed at the Olympia it was just great to see.
Right.
Even at the Texas Pro, having that money up, that was amazing as well.
$15,000, right?
So I forgot. I think it was more than that.
Yeah.
It might have been more. Yeah. But I mean, that was just unreal. Like the feeling of just walking off that stage.
Yeah.
It was a really cool feeling. So I think the division is still kind of growing. It's good to see the diverse physiques, and that's one thing that comes to my mind when I'm ready to stand up on stage is kind of taking a look at the women around me and being like, you know what, we're all different in our own way. We're bringing a different body to the stage.
Right.
What the judges want. So I think the division is still kind of growing, and it's got a long way to go.
It's definitely fluid. And when you look at the base definition of women's physique specifically, no striated glutes, but yet we're seeing that. And it's like, okay, it really depends on the panel of judges, because when you get to the Olympia, it was totally different, I think, from what you saw throughout the season, even from the Texas Pro to the Olympia. Do you agree?
Oh, I absolutely agree. Yeah. If you compare some of the shows, the winners that have qualified, very different look. Again, it's like who shows up at the show. It's what the judges have to work with. I do feel like sometimes the line is a little blurred with some of the shows with bodybuilding and women's physique when you're talking about the striated glutes and it's tough because as a competitor in women's physique, it's like, a lot of times I'm not exactly sure what they want, but I know that if there's striated glutes on stage, they're going to reward that competitor. So that's going to bring me to try for striated glutes. And I brought that to the stage this year, especially the Texas Pro. That was my best conditioning compared to Tampa. So yeah, in my mind, I've got to look like a bodybuilder to do well on the top women's physique show. And that's the reality of it. And, I like this division and it's suited for me. But I'm also realistic. And I don't take it too personal because I have a very petite frame. So compared to, let's say, a woman that might have broader shoulders than me with, upper body structure, she may win. So.
And then height can have an advantage when you're talking symmetry and all around conditioning. For one, the person is taller, that physique is filled out, seems to have an advantage.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Not always the case. I've seen a lot of short girls went and whipped it. So, and it depends on how coaches, I think I saw a lot this year from the standpoint of how coaches manage peak week, because everybody's done good all season and you get to Olympia and you're trying to have that peaking at the right time or your best body of work, literally, to come through to the Olympia. And sometimes it's missed and sometimes it's dead on. I think you saw that as well.
Yeah. And again, a lot of it might not even come down to, the coaching or anything. It could just come down to the person's physique, especially being woman that is doing back-to-back shows and then is hoping to do or is going to do the Olympia and then goes, it's asking a lot of your body. And I said, like, the division has a lot to do with it. Is like the conditioning they want. Realistically, as a woman, what you have to put your body through to get to that level, what they want. Is a lot to be able to do multiple times and stuff. And that's one thing that, if and when I qualify for the Olympia, that's not something I plan on doing, is a bunch of shows going into it, because, I'm going to respect the body and go for what counts.
Right. And you find yourself chasing the qualification, and then you qualify, and then it's like, okay, I need to shut it down. But depending on earlier qualification, the better. Like you to qualify in the early shows in April, May time frame, as opposed to qualifying late as Tampa, could weigh on you, because now you're just gonna have enough gas in the tank to bring your best at Olympia.
Yep. And I think that's where the experienced pro level coach comes into play, and having a coach that really knows and has the experience of doing with that. Because it's one thing to know something. Another thing is to have had experience with it, different scenarios with different people. I think that's one of the things I like so much about having Yassine as my coach is he's very experienced with women's physique. So, this was the first time that I competed where I felt just so calm about the entire process. And it's because I had full trust in him because of his experience.
Right. And you're how many years pro now?
I turned pro in 2021.
Okay. So now you can call yourself a seasoned pro. This going into your third year, right?
22, 3, 4. This is going to be fourth.
Yeah. So your fourth year as a pro, if you were to put into a high school analogy, this is your senior year. So what have you learned now going into your fourth year in the 2025? Give me the good.
I've had to learn a lot because coming from powerlifting, that was a completely different thing, and that was a different thing. So, and then having earned my pro card pretty quickly, I got to the pro stage. I had to figure a lot of stuff out because the pro stage is a different world, and it humbled me a lot, which I needed at the time because to be at the top of one sport, you go to the other and you get your pro card quickly, So I needed to be humbled, and I was, and it forced me to level up, which I did, and really, work on the things I needed to work on and humble myself. And I did, and I learned a lot about myself as a person in the process. I grew as a person, and I can say, I got for the first call out this season, and I feel like I deserved it. And I can tell you that the other times I didn't, because I hadn't leveled up the way I needed to. And I didn't bring the physique that I needed for that first call out.
Right. You can make a strong argument in so much as a fact that women's bodybuilding birthed all of the women's divisions. Specifically women's bodybuilding, you say definitely birthed women's physique. But that's how the evolution of women's physique came about, because they thought women's bodybuilding had gone too far. Now they're both back. Well, now you got a seventh women's division. You very easily could say that the bikini division birthed what is now going to be known as the fit model division. Came out this week by Tyler Mannion. I think there's a lot of pros and cons to it, but overall, I think the message was positive. I know I warmed up to it, and to me, it makes sense. But from a female athlete, women's physique competitor, as well as you are a coach and trainer yourself, how do you see the fit model division coming in? Won't see it in the IFBB stage until 2026, as the 2025 will be the inaugural year. But give me your take on it.
Well, I'll start off by saying I do see the business side of it, and this is a business, and that's so I completely get that and their reasoning for doing it, and I think it will draw in a lot of just regular gym goers that may be intimidated at the bodybuilding.
Right.
But as a competitor and as a women's physique competitor, put a lot of time into building this physique and muscle. And I feel like for it to be bodybuilding, I don't feel like this new division kind of falls in line with what we consider bodybuilding. To think of, these they will qualify for the Olympia, alongside others that have basically worked almost their whole lives to get to that point, and so much work and so much sacrifice that it just doesn't feel right. And bikini really is entry level when you think about it. It's not much muscle. The conditioning isn't nearly like the other divisions. That really is entry level bodybuilding.
Right.
If anything, maybe kind of scale it down a little bit. Maybe it's gotten a little too, one way, bring it back, another way. That's fine from a bodybuilding perspective. But from a business side, I get it. It's a business.
And honestly, I think when people first see the women's bodybuilding, all 6 divisions, it's very much intimidating. To where they say, well, I could never look like that, wouldn't want to look like that. Versus bikini, a lot I've said and I've heard say, well, I could do that, when you really couldn't yet. But maybe you could come in with the fit model division, which I believe is entry level, not as intimidating, the way it's laid out. And then I think women are going to figure out very quickly, this is for me or it's not for me.
Mm-hmm. Which is fine. But then, like I said, you're putting them alongside on the Olympia with people that, didn't just start training like
exactly
a couple years ago, they have actually dedicated and invested a lot. And this prestige of, I feel like it'll get watered down a little bit. And then on top of making the shows very long, it's already long as it is. I'm kind of lucky that I'm kind of in the beginning usually of the shows. But that bikini, at least the bikini division, I mean, they're there until pretty late during the show.
Yes. So. But if you're the fan, you just buy tickets to the show you want to see. So we know Friday, hey, that's women's bodybuilding. And then women's physique right behind it. So there's that part of it too. And just pick the show. If you're a fan, pick the shows you want to go to. As far as the length of the show, I mean, it is what it is. But at the same time, you look at how many competitors have left the sport. Just talking about bikinis alone, the numbers have declined. And so now this is a new marketplace to market this division and build it back up, because where women's bodybuilding can feed off of women's physique, those competitors are moving up. Bikini was the entry level, so there's nothing really feeding the bikini level, and now there is.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and this is only, we just had the 4th year at the Olympia for wellness, and then women's physique, started with Dana and Lynn Bailey. So everything evolves, and then at the same time, if it doesn't take off, well, it'll be cut. It'll be cut.
That's true. We'll see how it plays out. Like you said, it could get cut eventually. So,
but that was the big news this week, and then as well as the shows coming out. Do you think it's obviously best to try to qualify as quickly as you can, but at the same time, you got to be ready, and you want to bring your best package so that you're not chasing shows?
Exactly. At the end of the day, I do this for me. I love this. If there was not a stage, I would still be eating my meals every day. I'd still be training hard. That's me. Obviously, I need to be ready for the shows and stuff like that. So right now I haven't really decided which shows. I'm actually planning a move out west in February.
Really?
Vegas, yeah.
You're leaving the state of Florida?
Yeah, I've been here a very, very long time. I just got my massage therapy license, so I'm looking for a fresh start, and Vegas is the place.
Oh, well, there you go. And if the Olympia continues to be in Vegas, that's a home game. That's a home game.
Yeah,
as well as close to Arizona. The flight is shorter, that is, because you're out west. So I can see your reasoning behind that.
Yeah, that'd be nice. It'll put me in like a different area for shows. So most likely I won't do Tampa Pro, which I've done, several times now. So maybe, the Arizona Pro is a one that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I'd be open to that. You know, and the thing too is, you know, I want to qualify, and when I qualify, I want to be competitive on the Olympia stage.
Right.
You know, it's just not really who I am to
right.
show up when I'm not ready, or I'm not going to be ready to compete.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I know that timing is everything in life, and you know, it'll be my time, and I'll be there to compete.
Yeah, you don't just want to show up; you want to show out. But what does your family think about the move out west?
Oh, you know, very supportive.
Yeah.
You know, I have a very unconventional life. This is the path that I've chosen.
Yeah.
Ever since I was a kid, I wanted to do different things with my life,
Mm-hmm.
and I've always loved traveling. And I'm originally from New Jersey, so I mean, I left Jersey right after high school. I came to Tampa.
Wow.
I had never been to Tampa before. I was like, I'm going to Florida, and look, I've built a great life here, and it's been great. But I'm at that point now where, you know, I've done everything. I've been everywhere. I know everybody, and you know, I need to keep growing, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And for those that don't know, massage therapy is critical to competitors that are competing, especially when they're trying to come back from a workout, get ready for a show. Talk a little bit about that, because I just don't think people understand how critical it is to have massage therapy as part of your regimen getting ready for a show.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have been a competitive athlete for 10 years now, when you add up powerlifting and bodybuilding, and massage therapy has done so much for me. Just healing, not even just through injuries, but being able to keep up with my muscles growing. I mean, people don't realize how important it is when your muscles are bound up from hypertrophy training, just heavy lifting, that you need you need body work done, and how, I mean, really, that's what keeps me going. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to get into it, is because it's done so much for my health and for my performance and my overall well-being. So I want to be able to help others as well. And I want to focus on athletes and, you know, people that are using their bodies for performance and things like that. So, yeah, it's crucial. I mean, I have body work done at least once a month, sometimes more. Especially if I'm getting close to a show, to really open up the physique for posing and things like that. I mean, it's you know, I factor in massage therapy for myself, like I do, like the food, the coaching, you know, the show cost, everything. That's part of it.
And how long does a session normally go? 2 hours on the minimum to longer? Or does it just depend on what they were working the prior day? Like, for instance, leg day versus something that was upper body.
Yeah, it just depends on what they're getting worked on. So, like, for example, if you have working on the quads, the legs, I mean, that could easily be a 90-minute session.
Yeah.
Maybe if something's just a shoulder issue, you can get away with an hour and stuff like that. But I would say at minimum an hour, but they're usually longer, and some are 2 hours. Yeah, if you're wanting to do like a whole body, multiple areas that need to get worked on, then that would be a 2-hour massage. Yeah.
Doing a prep, how often would you recommend that they get massage therapy? If you're in the midst of a 16, 18-week prep, how often would you think would be best?
It's actually really hard to answer that, because it all depends on the person's body, their programming, how they're training, you know, what recovery they're doing on their own. Like, are they foam rolling? Are they taking hot baths? Are they using the sauna? All that plays a part.
Yeah.
Let's just say someone's doing all that on their own. I mean, I would say during a prep, once a week, once every other week. And then the last one, you definitely want your last massage about a week out from the show. Nothing too intense, basically just flushing the inflammation.
Just before peak week. Gotcha.
Yeah, honestly, it does so much for the physique, not just in prep, but also when you're building muscle, because, you know, you're building muscle and it gets bound up, and you need to work the muscle and elongate it, and, you know, it needs to recover fully and get good range of motion, which a lot of people will get strains and things like that, and they'll just keep working through it. That's the worst thing you can do.
Well, congratulations on getting your license. How long was it total?
Let's see, I started in March, I believe, and I just graduated now and took the licensing exam.
Was it hard?
The exam was very challenging. Yes, I was very relieved when I got the notice on the screen that I had passed.
Right.
It was surreal, actually, because it's been a long time since I've been in school and studying.
Yeah.
I had to learn how to study again because I really hadn't in a while,
Yeah.
like traditional studying. So it was an experience. I've grown as a person. I've grown professionally. I've got more tools in the toolbox, and this is a new exciting adventure for me.
How often do you have to renew your license? And speaking of which, technically your license is for Florida now, but you'll have to get your license for Nevada, right?
Oh yeah. That'll transfer right over. They acknowledge the license. It would just be a matter of work, which I plan to do once I get out there and start working. Yeah.
So when will you move now?
I'm looking at February.
Okay.
Yeah, which is great because if by the time I get out there and I'm settled and I'm ready to start a prep, then that would be perfect because it would be about a 16-week prep, and that would put me right around the time for the the Texas Pro and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. So
I mean, I would like to do Chicago. I mean, if I could be ready for that and that show would work out for me, I would love to start off with Chicago, maybe do Texas, and then finish with Arizona. Right. That would be a nice little run.
Yeah, it would. But now that you're going to be on the West Coast, that sort of changes to Arizona Pro and, something in California maybe, right?
Yeah, that would open me up to all that. Yeah, so I'm just kind of playing it by ear and see how everything goes, one thing at a time. It's going to be a big move, so we'll see once I get out there and settled, but I'm excited.
Well, that's great, right after the new year, so yeah. That's good stuff. Do you have any major plans for the holidays, or are you just going to relax?
Really, honestly, it's almost surreal that I passed this exam and I'm done with school because I was so focused the whole year on doing that and then working and everything. So honestly, I'm looking forward to having some time now to decompress, just relax, savor all the wins from this year because, having done so well on stage this year, my best season by far, finishing up school, getting my license, it's like time, a little breather before the next goals.
Well, that's great. Last question, we'll let you out of here on this. We talked overall about women's physique. When you look at recruitment, and speaking from a coach's standpoint, now you get a competitor or an amateur that comes up and says, hey, I want to start bodybuilding. And obviously, given what their physique looks like, would determine the division. But how do you recruit a competitor or wannabe competitor that asks you that question?
That asks me, what was the question?
That asks you about getting into bodybuilding or becoming a competitor.
Okay. I mean, really, at that point, if they're asking me that, I take a look at their physique. I'll take some pictures, have them take some pictures, and then just seeing what their shape looks like, seeing then what category realistically do they fit in for a potential show.
Right.
And then just kind of seeing, what each division requires, and then looking at the person and seeing, what would be the best fit for them from the pictures that I see.
Right. Blanca Rodrigues, IFBB Pro Women's Physique. Thanks for coming back on the Amazon's podcast. Congratulations, massage therapist. What's more exciting for you? IFBB Pro / massage therapist, or massage therapist versus IFBB Pro?
How about IFBB Pro, Blanca Rodrigues, LMT?
There you go. Good job.
Yeah, which I'll have to actually update that.
Hey, you need to go update all your social media now. Get your business cards and everything. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, no, but thank you so much for having me on the podcast. It's a pleasure. It was so nice to chat and just talk about bodybuilding.
Yeah, always. So glad you came back on. And when you make a decision about a show, once you get settled in Vegas, let's do it again and talk. Let me know how the business is going. And once you pick out that show, whether it's going to be Arizona Pro or something there in Vegas.
All right, sounds good. We'll do.
All right, talk soon.
Happy holidays. Take care.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Blanca Rodrigues, so glad she came back on the Amazon's podcast. And now she's a massage therapist, which is great. And it just brings more credibility to you as a competitor because you're on stage, but you also know the training and the coaching and the diet, and now how important, as in her case, massage therapy is. I'm Glenn Young, GPS photography and video, owner of Amazon's Fitness Magazine. And I want to give a shout out to all the new subscribers to both the YouTube channel, Amazon's Fitness Magazine, and the subscribers to Amazon'sFitMag.com. Coming up, I will be going to the Arnolds as I announced, and then I will be doing the Charlotte Pro. I won't be doing it. I'll be there. So let's clarify that. The Charlotte Pro and the Charlotte Cup. Currently shooting for the March issue of Amazon's Fitness Magazine. So if you're a women's bodybuilder and you want to be in the magazine, please hit me up. Ideally, I would have a women's bodybuilder on the cover or women's physique, but then I would have a centerfold layout of all the divisions. That's critically important. So this year, I'm specifically targeting because I have not had a fitness competitor on the cover of Amazon's Fitness Magazine. As we're getting ready to go into the third year, so I'm trying to rectify that. But I'm always looking for the best available, those that want to be in the magazine. Just because you have a magazine, does anybody want to be in it? And that's the thing. I think we're going on the right direction. The main focus also this year is to listen more to the women's competitors and get their opinion because they drive the magazine. And I have no question that if they get behind it, the magazine is going to continue to flourish and do well. Not everybody is for you, but that doesn't mean that everybody's against you. But it does mean that everybody's watching. So give them a show. We'll see you next time. Merry Christmas to everyone. Probably have a podcast coming up next weekend as we're constantly trying to get guests to come on to promote the magazine as well as promote the podcast. So we will be talking to you soon. Take care. Be blessed.